My entitled parents are forcing me to change my daughter's name, and I could not be more upset. My entitled father called a couple of days ago and demanded that my daughter's name have my maiden name. For context, I'm ethnically Filipino, but I am a second-generation immigrant, as I immigrated when I was 6 years old. Filipino tradition is such that the child's middle name must be the mother's maiden name. For example, if my mother's maiden name was Smith, my middle name would be Smith. My daughter had just graduated high school, and my parents received a picture of her diploma. When they looked at the photo, they realized that I did not have their last name or maiden name on it, and they were very upset. Given that me and my husband are culturally American, but ethnically Filipino, my husband being half Filipino, we decided to give her a new name for her middle name and have her hold her father's last name. My entitled father complained and demanded that I change her name. I told them we are Americans and we live in America, therefore we will use what is culturally appropriate. He told me he does not care about the American way and that I am turning my back on the right way, which according to him is the Filipino way. My daughter is already 18 years old. I can't legally do anything regarding her name anymore. I had told him that, but he yelled and demanded that I must get it done. Not my daughter, but me. And I better do it or else. Personally, I have a myriad of reasons why I don't want my daughter to have my maiden name. A lot of issues including insurance as well as schooling, and even inheritance could also be on the line if she were to change her name. And even more importantly, she doesn't want a different name. My daughter outright said no, and both my husband and I agree with her. Later that night, she called them and told them, very nicely at that, stating quite plainly to them that she will in no way change her name. The only reason she would is if she gets married in the future. My entitled father threw an absolute fit on the phone, and she just ignored him and hung up. They haven't spoken to me since. I want to talk to my parents again, but if they're going to throw a fit over a name and continuously be upset, especially over a name they knew about, then I will cut ties. I honestly hope they get their act together. How weird can you possibly get, to be completely honest with you? Because they knew about this middle name issue for 17 years? Unless somehow they were just not involved or didn't know anything about this kid for 17 years? Why are you cherry picking this issue now of all times? No one is beholden to any type of tradition. If you want to break tradition and do your own thing, then by all means do it, in my opinion. The fact that this entitled father is acting so crazy towards this and trying to force this kid to change their name is just really stepping over the line, in my opinion. This kid is 18 years old. She can decide what she does and doesn't want to do with her well-being. And if she decides that she's not changing her middle name, well then guess what? There's nothing you can do about it. So good for them for standing up for themselves and for standing by their daughter's decision, because this family does not need this kind of energy in their life. My boyfriend has issues with my male friends, and I'm honestly not sure what to do about it. So I'm a 27-year-old female and my boyfriend is 28, and he has issues with me having male friends and hanging out with them. I let him know everything about them. I am always happy for him to join me when meeting them, and I am always transparent, reachable all the time I am out. I don't drink, so there's no chance of me doing something silly. I don't usually hang out with male friends one-on-one late into the evening, but I do often meet them after work, so between 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Sometimes I will organize big gatherings, which may go late into the night, and most of the time, it's just mainly guys, just because I have always had more male friends than female friends, despite having put effort to change things. The past several months, my boyfriend has been very busy, so he cannot join me, but he usually does not like hanging out with my friends much anyways. Most of my friends that I tend to meet one-on-one, I have known for quite a long time, so we essentially respect each other and have each other's back. I won't hang out one-on-one with the new guys I have met unless it's for some kind of sporting event. So I'm kind of wondering, is this common among other men? I am a very extroverted person, and I would love to have more female friends, and usually when a male friend of mine gets a girlfriend, I tend to try and make that girl my friend as well. I am not sure what else I can do to make my boyfriend feel comfortable, and I am not sure why he has these issues with my male friends. I have asked him to explain, but he doesn't really say much besides, "If you are this type of girl, I don't think we can work out." I don't get what type of girl I am and why having male friends and hanging out with them in any way defines my value as a woman. What should I do? It sounds like your boyfriend is very insecure and he's being very toxic. If he really has such a problem with you spending time with these guy friends, then he would have the common decency of getting to know them and being there with you when you do hang out. From the sounds of it, you've invited him multiple times, but he just hasn't done the thing things necessary to make himself feel comfortable. In my opinion, I think men and women absolutely can be friends without there being any kind of ulterior motive. It's completely possible, and it is 100% something people do all the time. But for him to assume that, oh, because she's with male friends, that must mean she's cheating on me, is just really toxic on his part. It would be different if these guy friends were openly flirting with you, then I think it would be a problem, obviously, and you would definitely need to cut off those relationships. But if these are just normal platonic relationships, then there's nothing wrong with that. And I think your boyfriend needs to put a little bit more effort into trying to understand that instead of just having this mentality of, oh, she's going around behind my back, when clearly that is not the case. My boyfriend doesn't think he should have to treat me kindly in our relationship, and honestly, I'm at a loss for words. I'm a 22-year-old female, and my boyfriend is also 22, and we have been dating for 8 years. Recently, we have been arguing a lot, and I decided to have a talk with him about how I've been feeling. He expressed to me that he is upset that we have not been intimate as much as we used to, and I told him it was due to how he treats me emotionally. I said I have a hard time feeling that attraction when he treats me so poorly. He then told me that he doesn't feel like he can treat me kindly and with respect until I start being intimate with him again. I tried to explain to him that I think kindness should come first, but he disagrees. He says that apparently for men, being intimate is 50% of the relationship. So if we aren't going to be intimate together, he can't treat me right. I feel that intimacy should be because of that emotional attraction. I told him he treats his friends with kindness and obviously doesn't expect any of that from them, but he said it's different. I just don't think being kind to your girlfriend should come with a price, and he is starting to make me feel like that's all I'm ever good for. He essentially told me that he doesn't feel like he wants to solve any of my issues I have in the relationship, which is almost entirely about just him treating me better. That is, until we solve his problem about me not being intimate enough. This is all honestly a very new problem for me, and not something I've ever dealt with before. I could really use some advice in this situation, as I'm not sure where to go with this. What should I do? Your boyfriend sounds really manipulative. I would personally, if I was in your situation, dump him fast. This is a major red flag. He's treating you like garbage as a way to get what he wants. And it is absolutely ridiculous for him to say that most men feel this way. That is not how most men feel. This guy is an anomaly. To treat your girlfriend like this, all because she's not being intimate with you, is incredibly disturbing. And in my opinion, you can do so much better than this garbage. It sounds like he's made his position very clear that he's not going to treat you better unless you do certain things with him, and that is unbelievably unfair and toxic. Kindness and love and generosity should be the first thing on the forefront of any relationship, in my opinion. And if this guy doesn't want to do that, then honestly, I would cut your losses and find someone who will. My boyfriend of 9 months is still good friends with his ex-girlfriend, even though he's never told me about her. So my boyfriend and I have been dating for about 9 months now. We met online through gaming, and we are now living together. Most of my boyfriend's friendships are online friends he plays video games with, which is very similar to me. Before me, he was in another online relationship, and after breaking up, they stayed really close friends, and they also shared the same friend group. I knew about her, but I never met her. I only ever met some of the people from this friend group, but that was all before me and my boyfriend started dating. A few weeks before we started dating, my boyfriend had a big falling out with his friend group. From what I've gathered, I know it was because of his ex, and it pretty much seemed like it was because of jealousy and other really petty reasons. I also think there are some details about this that I'm not aware of. Either way, this caused my boyfriend to distance himself from the group and her because he said it was very toxic and he wanted to take a break from it. I always encouraged him to work things out with his friends eventually, and I was excited to meet them whenever he felt comfortable around them again. He said he would contact them when he was ready, but at the moment, he said he did not want to, nor did he feel the need to. Many months go by, and my boyfriend and I eventually meet up and move in together. He still expressed no plans to reconnect with the friend group for a little while still. After a month or so, I found out that he had reconnected with his ex, but he had not yet told me about it. He said he messaged her after she had unblocked him and they were catching up. The things he said to her while doing so is where my problem began. In the months that passed from him falling out with his friend group, all the way till then, my boyfriend's life had changed semi-drastically. He had uprooted his life and moved to my country to live with me and get a job here, something that was quite quite a big deal. When catching up with his ex, however, he specifically went out of his way to avoid mentioning me, saying he was in my country but staying alone at a hotel, and saying that the reason for wanting to move here was simply because he wanted to try something new. I was never mentioned, and neither was the fact that he was in a relationship. I found it strange, since this was someone he, multiple times in the past, referred to as his closest friend. So why would he keep such details from her when trying to reconnect? I also found out about the whole thing as an accident, which further hurts my feelings, because I did not see why he felt the need to hide it from me. All of this obviously upset me, and I accused him of not being serious about me and lying to me about his intentions. I may have overreacted, but the whole thing made me feel very insecure. We talked it out, and his reasoning was that he didn't want to be that close to her, and that he did not feel comfortable sharing private things about his life to these people anymore. I could see where he was coming from, so we made up and moved on. Time went on, and eventually he reconnected with most of the people from the friend group, while still keeping them at a distance. The past incident had been on my mind a lot, and it kept giving me a bad feeling, so a couple of times I couldn't help but ask him if he had or would ever mention me to them, which he hadn't. One of the times it turned into a small argument, because he got annoyed that I was still bringing it up, because he did not understand why I cared so much, and he thought I was accusing him of doing it intentionally. He said he found it awkward to bring it up out of nowhere, and again, he wanted to keep his life private. While I could understand that, I also realized that this was more important for me than for him, and we agreed that if it came up naturally, he would say it. I didn't ask for him to announce me or anything like that, but when asked about his life and the things he mentioned doing and the places he's going, instead of saying he did it all alone, just say that it was with me, his girlfriend, which is true. I considered it an easy request and said it would do a lot to reassure me, and he promised he would do it if it came up. Fast forward to now, and I know he still has not mentioned me to anyone he is talking to. It has been around 4 to 5 months since he initially contacted his ex. The only person I know he has told was one friend he told a long time ago, and she was an older friend who was separate from the group. I can accept that with some of his friends, the topic never really comes up, since they speak very rarely and mostly about games. But when it comes to his ex, I cannot understand it. They have gotten a lot closer and seem to be speaking very regularly, sometimes whole days at a time. I'm assuming they're almost back to being as they were before falling out, minus spending time in calls and playing games together. When I ask him why he doesn't do that with her or anyone from the group anymore, he just says he does not want to. I know they discuss their lives a lot and that he is helping her out often. He even sometimes mentions to me what's going on in her life as well. He is also sending her pictures of things he's been up to, so I can only assume he is talking about his life and not being too private. He already told her that he moved from before, so privacy doesn't seem like a good excuse to me anymore, since so much time has passed. And that's the part where I am pretty confused about why she has absolutely no idea I exist in his life, and neither does any friend of his that know her. Lately, I have been wondering if his reluctance to speak to them in calls, like before, is because there's usually no way to do it without me being in the same room, which would risk revealing that he is in fact not alone. Why on earth is he hiding me? I basically have no idea how to go about this situation the best way. We never agreed to have any kind of secrecy. I thought after agreeing to do it, he would end up, well, doing it. I'm pretty hurt that he seems to not want to, and it has been hurting my self-esteem. I would love to have someone else's perspective on the situation. Maybe it is not as serious as I am making it out to be, or maybe I need to be more patient. I know I will eventually have to bring it up again, but I don't want to come off as the possessive and jealous girlfriend who won't let her boyfriend have his privacy. It feels almost humiliating, basically begging for what I would consider a pretty easily completed request. But I'll admit I do not understand his perspective fully, so I am hoping someone could help me out. I know it's not a big deal, it just feels so out of place with everything else in our relationship, and honestly, it really bothers me. He is very loving and kind and seems super committed to me. We spend a lot of time hanging out together together with my friends, and he says he enjoys that they know we are a couple. We have met each other's parents, and we both know that we're serious about each other. Usually, I talk to him about all of my feelings, but I am just really confused about his decisions surrounding this, and I wouldn't want to cause problems for no reason. I would really appreciate someone else's perspective on the situation since it's causing me so much stress. I think there's a big difference between keeping something private and keeping something a secret. Keeping something private would be him saying, "Hey, I have a girlfriend," and then literally leaving it that, not airing dirty laundry and not really sharing anything else. It wouldn't be a surprise that he has a girlfriend, but other than that, the details can be very vague, and that's where you leave it. But keeping it a secret would him being like, "Hey, I moved to this other country by myself, and I do all these things by myself." He's not even mentioning your existence. In his eyes, you're a secret, when in reality, you're supposed to be his partner. And if I was in your shoes, I would definitely see this as shady behavior. I really hope this is nothing shady and that he's just being an idiot. But there's no reason for him to lie to his friends, as well as get super close to his ex-girlfriend, with him all assuming that he is still single. That, in my eyes, is just not a good look. It makes it seem like he is still on the market, when in reality, if you do love each other as much as you're saying, he should be more open and say, "Hey, I have a girlfriend." He doesn't have to go into the specifics about it, but he can at the very least make that known, especially in front of his ex-girlfriend. He is talking to his ex-girlfriend without mentioning this lady at all. That is a big deal breaker in my opinion, and a major red flag. It's almost like he's setting things up to try and cheat on her. I really hope that's not the case, but this all seems super sketchy from my side of this. And I think you're asking a question that you already know the answer to when you're asking, why is he hiding me? Worst case scenario, he plans on cheating again and he doesn't want people to know that he's in a relationship. I really hope that's not the case, but honestly, from what you've described, it kind of seems like it's leading in that direction. So I think having an honest heart-to-heart with your boyfriend will really go a long way in this case. Because if you two really do love each other like you say you do, then this should be easy to work out. Otherwise, this might be a deal breaker. My family has lost all of their trust in my girlfriend, and I don't know what to do about it. I'm a 33-year-old male and my girlfriend is 37. We moved to an apartment in her city a couple of months ago after a 3-year long-distance relationship. And ever since then, everything started going downhill. She had to be away from our house for many hours since she had some family problems to solve, and I had to stay by myself for the longest part of the day as I didn't really make any new friends at the time in this new city yet. I started getting a little bit depressed and homesick, and I felt that she didn't understand me. A few days ago, her dad was diagnosed with a heart condition, and he needed to have open heart surgery. She became very depressed, aggressive, and I couldn't have a normal conversation with her. The surgery was scheduled for yesterday, but I had to go back to my city for a couple of days before the surgery, as I had to visit my brother and sister, who came from overseas, which I hadn't seen for months. I went back to the apartment on Saturday just to have her accuse me that I wasn't there for her. She started insulting and cursing me and my family for no particular reason, and I asked her to stop, but she wasn't willing to. So as a result, I took some of my stuff and drove back to my family in the middle of the night, just to try and give her some space. About an hour later, she drove to my parents' house as well, and she woke everybody up at 2 in the morning just to make a big scene and to accuse me that I hurt her in some way, which is a complete lie. After she made this scene at 2 in the morning, she left. The next day, she texted my mother to apologize to her, and she had also told her about her lie. She apologized to me as well and promised me that she will never have this extreme behavior again. But after this, my parents lost all of their trust to this woman, and they suggested me to never return back to her. My brother and sister also have given me some valid points about staying away from her, such as that she might have some serious issues, and I will be miserable for the rest of my life if I stay with her. Although I believe that most of the things my family said are true, I want to give her a second chance, as I really love her and care for her. But I'm afraid that I might lose my family, which I really don't want to do. I'm really heartbroken, and she is too, but I really don't know what to do. If I was in your shoes and my partner just accused me of domestic assault that never happened, I absolutely would break up with her immediately. There is no way on earth I would give that a second chance. That is an absolutely unforgivable red flag in my opinion. She should not get away with lying about you in a way that is so detrimental towards your future and your character. Like, what she did is absolutely unacceptable. I don't care what's going on in her life. To come to your house at 2 in the morning and make such false accusations is incredibly crazy and not something you should ever deal with. Your family is 100% right in this situation. If you go back to her after this, you are crazy and you really will lose your family. If I was a member of your family and I saw this happen at 2 in the morning and you still went back to her to give her another chance, I would think less of you and probably not talk to you again, because this woman is going to ruin your life. Like, literally almost everything else is forgivable in my eyes, but the fact that she tried to accuse you of assault is absolutely crazy to me. So in my opinion, I think the writing's on the wall, and if you were smart, you would get away from this crazy lady while you still have the chance. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And the next time you live stream, use the cream of the crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.